Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the special budget adoption meeting of Monday, April 24th. Will everyone please rise and join me in the pledge of the flag? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the village clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Giordano.
Present.
Trustee Luisi.
Present.
Trustee Leo.
Present.
Trustee Alfasi.
Present.
Mayor Eklund.
I am happy to be here tonight. There is one public hearing tonight, which is a public hearing to consider a proposed local law to repeal local law number 5 of 2016 to repeal the override of the tax levy limit on fiscal year ending 2018 village budget. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
So what this is, the public hearing is, I'll talk about discussion, but let's do a roll call first, so we officially open it.
Trustee Giordano.
In favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. So I'll just describe why we're having a public hearing tonight. That's because every year, we are proactive in adopting a law to override the governor's imposed tax levy cap limit. And we do that just in case there is some catastrophic reason why we would need to go above the governor's imposed tax levy limit. And fortunately, we're going to adopt a budget tonight that not only is below that limit, but it's going to give everyone a tax refund this year. So we're pleased about that. So is there anybody from the public who would like to speak about this? And seeing as that we do not, anybody from the board? It's pretty self-explanatory. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Giordano.
In favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. That's going to bring us to our first and only opportunity tonight to address this board on anything that is on our agenda. Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak to us tonight? Okay, being there is nobody would like to come on up and speak to us, I'm just going to move into our resolutions. And resolution number 1 is adopting a proposed local law to repeal local law number 5 of 2016 to repeal the override of the tax levy limit on fiscal year ending 2018 village budget. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Giordano.
In favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. And the reason why we're here tonight is resolution number 2, adopting the budget for fiscal year June 1, 2017 through May 31, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And we will definitely have a discussion about this. Well, actually, maybe I'll pass it over to Treasurer Burke, if you wanted to just say a couple of words. I know we all have a few things we're going to mention. We've met numerous times on this.
Yeah, just to go a quick update. The budget was, the tentative budget came in at 1.14%. The board went through the budget in 2 separate work sessions, one being, the last one being this past Saturday, made some minor modifications to the budget. However, it still stands at 1.14%. As the board knows, just some minor modifications in some of the lines. This is below the New York State mandated tax cap of 1.15%. With the adjusted assessed values, it is going to provide a reduction in village property taxes for the average homeowner between $25 and $50.
That's pretty good. That's we're real pleased about that. I'm going to highlight just a few of the items in this budget that I felt was noteworthy to discuss. Are in our police department, from the expense side of the balance sheet, they actually reduced their entire overall expenses just by 0.07%. So it was actually a reduction of $2,300, which basically means they had a flat budget for this year. Public Works actually went slightly over. We actually are budgeting slightly over in Public Works. We actually have some new initiatives that we have planned for the Public Works Department. So their expenses are up 2.5%. Our medical insurance premium seems to go up every year. I don't think in the 13 years I've sat up here that it ever went down. So it went up almost 8% this year, which is $125,000. Our workers' comp insurance, thank you very much to our village administrator, David Burke. He's worked with our workers' comp representatives to make sure that we're paying the accurate cost per employee category, and that is actually going to reduce our workers' comp premium by about $48,000. Pension and retirement benefits have basically stayed flat for the anticipated next year. We have reduced, on the revenue side of the balance sheet, we've actually reduced our anticipated expectation for what our building department fees are going to be, because we know that some of the large projects have basically wrapped up now. So we've reduced that line just to be fiscally responsible. We've also made an adjustment in the mortgage tax line because we do not expect that to come in as high as we had budgeted for last year, so we reduced that by $14,500. And this is an interesting point. Interest on savings, we've actually dropped that almost to zero, $500. And that's noteworthy because interest rates, as everybody knows, are at an all-time low. And in one of the budget sessions we had recently, we talked about the fact that since interest rates are so low, should we be using this opportunity to borrow money to go ahead and rebuild some of the infrastructure in the village? I thought it was interesting during the last campaign that opponents of mine, I'll speak for myself, were saying that, that we've borrowed too much money. So it made me pause and say, let's fact check that a little bit. So we did an analysis of all the villages in Westchester County to see how much money the village has borrowed in relationship to other villages. Are we borrowing too much money, or are we not borrowing enough money? And there's a reason why you're not borrowing enough money, and I'll get to that in a second. So turns out that the village of Tuckahoe is actually on the lower end of the scale. There's quite a few municipalities. We'll take Ardsley, for instance. They actually have outstanding debt of 131% of what their annual budget is. So they actually have more money that they owe than their annual budget, which for them might very well be prudent for long-term infrastructure work that they're doing in their community. Briarcliff Manor is 115%. Bronxville is 109%. Croton, 115%. I noticed that Buchanan actually was, Buchanan is going to have a serious problem with Indian Point closing. So they're 36%. I think that's going to dramatically change. So anyway, so where's the village of Tuckahoe? The village is 48%, which means that we have approximately a little less than $6 million in outstanding debt. Of that, about $200,000 of that is tax certiorari payments that we paid out, and $4 million is for other items that the village bonded. A lot of it was capital projects, the Yonkers Avenue project, putting a roof on the community center and so on. So it begs us to take a hard look at this particular issue and say to ourselves, in the environmental climate that we live in today, which is you can borrow money at an all-time low, should we be thinking about possibly using this opportunity to borrow a pretty good chunk of money? I said maybe we should borrow $1 million and just take that $1 million and pave streets. In the 13 years I've been on this board, we never seem to get ahead of paving our streets. We have a list, everyone looks at it on the village website because we get emails quite often, where we have 5 different categories, and we start with the worst category, and we never seem to get out of the worst category. So I'm going to suggest that the board and we actually take a hard look at this issue and think about possibly this year borrowing some money on a long-term basis, maybe a 20-year basis, to go ahead and do some infrastructure repairs, whether it be street paving, whether it be sewer relining. That was something that we used to do at least $250,000 to $500,000 per year in sewer relining because we received that money through the county CDBG grant program. We haven't had that money through that grant program in quite a few years, more than 5 years, I'm sure. So anyway, it's a topic of conversation that was brought up, and I think that to be fiscally responsible to the people who live in our community now, that the reason why I bring this up is because to go ahead and budget too much money too much taxpayer money today for a infrastructure that's going to serve the residents who are going to live here for the span of 20 years is not necessarily a fair way of allocating that expense. So since we do have this opportunity of very low for certainly, hopefully for this year, of very low interest rates, it's something that we're going to go ahead and take a look at. So just last, before I turn it over to my colleagues here, it's noteworthy that this year's budget, we did not put any increases in the commuter parking fees that they pay in our merchant lots or at our meters. So I know we've made some adjustments over the last couple of years. I would imagine that next year would be an adjustment year for that. So, and we were also fortunate to be able to give a modest salary increase to our very hardworking employees that we have here in the village. Library, we're actually putting in a full-time librarian, which is something that is very much needed at the Tuckahoe Library. So that and the fact that we're not using our fund balance, we anticipate we're going to have about $1.8 million in fund balance by the end of this budget year, which is just incredible. So we're not using any of that money to balance the budget. I think we've all done a very good job here. So again, thank you very much to the Treasury Department, to my colleagues on the board, and all the department heads who seem to be able to squeeze, 10 cents out of a nickel. So that's all I have to say. So, Deputy Mayor, any comments at all?
No, I think Mayor Eklund, you've touched on all of the main points here. I think, the healthy fund balance, the fact that we've maintained services without diminishing any of those, the fact that we've improved public areas such as the Main Street Park. We're making it a nicer place to live in. And some of these, I guess these circumstances are circumstances of good fortune, such as 2 mild winters in a row, I think helps us out a little bit. But I think others are the good work of David Burke and of the board. And so I think we're in good shape looking ahead. So happy that we can actually give our taxpayers a little break and some money back this year. I think that's a terrific thing. So, and I'm happy to approve this budget.
That's wonderful. Trustee Luisi?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to keep my comments brief as well. I'm going to probably echo what's already been said, so please forgive me. But I would just like to comment that the budget that we're voting on this evening was achieved by the due diligence of our village administrator, David Burke, working in conjunction with our Treasury Department. The accurate monitoring of anticipated revenues in relation to anticipated expenditures makes for a sound budget. And the budget before us tonight is just that. In addition, the disciplined and creative procedures employed by our department heads without sacrificing manpower or service while still operating within their financial boundaries is a major contributing factor to this budget as well. For many years, as Mayor Eklund mentioned, the library has functioned without a much-needed librarian. Regardless, under the leadership of Director Swadesh and the support of the Friends of the library was still able to provide a wide array of programs for all ages. But as was mentioned, this budget finally allows for this position to be filled. The efficiency in which our Village Hall employees conduct their respective duties is second to none. And this budget as well provides them with an acknowledgement of their hard work. Our collective bargaining agreements continue to provide fair contracts for both the employees and village. This document speaks for itself, providing all Tuckahoe taxpayers a reduction in their taxes and keeping the village under the Albany tax cap. This board is tasked and committed with ensuring the continued financial stability of the village, And I personally would like to thank everyone responsible for working with this board and village administrator in maintaining these goals. Mayor.
Well, thank you. Trustee Leo.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo everything that's been said so far. Again, I want to thank David Burke and the Treasury Department. I mean, they do a fantastic job every year. I mean, it's really turned around the entire village, I think. I also want to thank the department heads. They work with their budgets, and they're constantly challenged to do more with less. And I'm really proud of our DPW. These guys do a lot of work in-house, which saves, I think, the village a great deal of money. The proposed budget doesn't raise any taxes, which is a good thing for the village. However, as the mayor said earlier, I think it's important that we continue to do in-house maintenance of our village, go out and do some infrastructure projects, roadways. I think this is a perfect opportunity to go out and borrow some money to do these things. The money right now is very cheap, so I think it's a good thing to do and to do it well. So, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Alfasi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a great budget. I'm very, very pleased with it, and I think the residents of Tuckahoe should be pleased with it as well. First, I'd like to thank certainly all of our village employees and workers. Did a fantastic job this year. They tighten the belt as much as they can. They give us tremendous effort all throughout the year, and that's not just this year, but many, many years, and I think all of the residents of Tuckahoe would agree with that. I'd like to just point out a couple of different things that we may have touched upon. O'Connor Davies. O'Connor Davies is the independent auditing agency that audits our books. Not only did they audit our books when we had some difficulties, but they audited our books this year as well, and for many, many years, and they do this for many municipalities. And they've given us a clean bill of health, one that they said our fiscal house is well in order, and they congratulated us at the meeting that they gave their statements. Also, the State Controller's Office, again, a clean bill of health. Tuckahoe's financial situation is in very good order. And for those detractors, even though both O'Connor Davies and the State Controller's Office have given us those clean bill of health, we're still going to have detractors who are saying that we borrowed to get into a good financial position. Well, for those detractors, I just want to tell you a little bit about the law. The law is you cannot borrow, you cannot bond for operating budget, nor for putting in your fund balance. It's illegal. So if we've done something wrong, please let the state controller know. I think you'll find out that we haven't. Everything we bonded for, everything we've gone out to the market for was justified, and it's capital improvements and/or tax certiorari's. So with that said, I'm extremely proud that we're going to be able to vote on something that most elected officials cannot say in their careers, or actually giving the taxpayers a break. You're actually going to save money on your property taxes this year. It's a little bit, but it's better than going up. Thank you.
And I'm happy about that, too. So with that, we're going to take a roll call on this, voting on this budget.
Trustee Giordano.
In favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor?
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. And that brings us to resolution number 3, which is authorizing the establishment of a capital project to fund Main Street Park improvements, or Main Street improvements. Developer fees of $142,750, increased revenues and increased appropriations. Main Street improvements, same amount, $142,750. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Giordano.
Favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. And finally, resolution number 4 is authorizing the transfer of funds to the capital fund from the general fund to purchase a police vehicle and creating said project. Transfer from contingency, $36,000, and transfer to capital fund, same amount, $36,000. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Trustee Giordano.
Favor.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor.
Trustee Leo.
In favor.
Trustee Alfasi.
In favor.
Mayor Eklund.
In favor. So that's going to wrap it up for tonight. I want to thank the member from the public who came out tonight. And if there's no other business tonight, I will ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Till next time, Tuckahoe, have a very good evening.